Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV edition. I'm Peter, that is Tim, and we, of course, working our way through Tales From the Crypt, the original horror anthology show from HBO. And this is going to be Season 3, Episode 14. It is the season finale of Season 3, is that. It is called Yellow. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is maybe the most expensive episode I've done up until this point.
Oh, sure. Yeah, as I was watching it, I was thinking, like, oh man, how much of the budget this season did they blow on this?
For two reasons. One is that it's set during World War One, and there's a lot of like running around in the trenches, and there's explosions going off, and I'm like, okay, this already seems like more production value than typically I associate with this show. And then Kirk Douglas is in it, Lance Henriksen's in it, Dan Aykroyd's in it, and then also Eric Douglas, who's not as notable, but it's a pretty big cast. Like, I mean, okay, admittedly, I'm not sure how much Lance Henriksen maybe rakes in his paycheck, even though I like him a lot and he does, he's quite notable. But Kirk Douglas, I don't imagine he's cheap.
No, certainly not.
This is towards the end of his career. He's been doing movies since like the 40s and 50s. He's a Hollywood darling. People love him. And but no, this is what it is. So what is the episode about? The episode is about so it's a father and a son played by the two Douglases. Kirk Douglas being the general, his son Eric being the lieutenant. And he's basically accused of being a coward because he basically signals a retreat when he's not meant to, and then he's given this mission to go out and prove that he's not a coward. He's promised that he'll be transferred after this mission, but he's gone on this little covert mission with a little team of people, a little team of soldiers, because they need to do this little thing, and ultimately, he kind of does get scared, and it results in the death of the other soldiers. And it's how did his father react to this when he finds out, and that's kind of the story. Tim,
Yeah.
what did you think of Yellow?
I wasn't a super big fan of it, but I wouldn't say it's because it's bad. It's just in general, like not my kind of taste. Like, I really don't like war stories, and I mean, admittedly, it is kind of like an interesting character piece, but I wasn't super into it. But I didn't think it was bad.
This is a weird one because, well, for a start, it's longer. It's the longest episode I've ever had. This was clocking in just under 40 minutes, which is, I guess, because it was a finale and because they had some big actors. They're like, here, give more time. But the weird thing is, I actually think this would have worked better had it been the typical 25 to 29 minutes, because it felt like it was padded out. So that would be my first complaint. I do think there's some strength to it. I don't really understand why this is an episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's a story about how a father doesn't want his son to be seen as a coward, and then goes to great lengths to show that he's not a coward, even though he very much is a coward in this sense. But ultimately leads to the ending, and the ending being, of course, that he gets caught for basically him being a coward leads to the death of these other soldiers, and once it looks like he's going to hide it and he's going to get away with it, but one of Lance Henriksen, his soldier, kind of survives long enough to just tell them what actually happened, and he is court-martialed for it. He is sentenced to death by firing squad, and Kirk Douglas goes to him and says, look, I can sneak you away, I'm going to put blanks on all the guns, as much as, you've learned your lesson, I've learned my lesson, that I was maybe pushing this life on you, and it's maybe not what was for you, and so on and so forth. So I'll put blanks on the guns. After we leave, we've already had the orders to move after tomorrow. You can flee and start a new life, and that'll be it. And honestly, right as soon as he started speaking, I'm like, this is a trick. Because he then says to him, but just promise me one thing, son. You will face this bravely tomorrow. You will face this firing squad like a man. And as soon as he said that, I went, all right. He's not actually putting blanks in the guns. He just wants him to be brave, so that he has this final moment of, no one in my family is a coward, and that's kind of the final thing. And that's he gets shot at the end. But I like. This seemed on so long, and I was expecting more of a twist at the end, because I was like, oh, that can't be the end of the episode. I feel like I've already figured it out. When I looked over at the time, when the actual sort of final gunshot came to kill him, and it's like, okay, right, he's dying, and I was like, oh, wait, there's only like a minute left. Oh, wait, this is the ending. Like, I couldn't believe it took till the actual end of the episode to get to that point. I was expecting there to be more after it, and maybe it'd be more of a twist of something, I don't know, with his father or something, I don't know. So it's an okay little. I mean, it's a fine little drama piece. It's kind of just about how he's determined for his son not to be a coward, and
Mhm.
I think maybe where it falls down a little bit is that I think you're supposed to feel sympathetic towards the son, but when he does actually go out on this mission, and like it's fair enough at the start of the story, because at the start of the story they're out in this battle, and Lance Henriksen's right. We need to charge, and he's like, no, I'm ordering the retreat. All that's happening is all of our soldiers are dying. We're going back.
Mhm.
We're accomplishing nothing by doing this. So he makes that order, and at that point you're kind of on his side. You're like, yeah, he's kind of making sense. Even though he's going against command, he's kind of making sense. Like they weren't achieving anything, and I mean, you could argue whether or not they weren't, because we hear later on about how it was distracting them so someone else could do something, and like, fair enough, like, there's more to it, but you're not against him at that point. But when he goes out in this mission in the middle of the night, and him being a coward actively lets others be shot, like, he has a chance to warn them, and he doesn't take it, because it will give away his position, and he's too much of a coward that he doesn't. So, for the rest of the story, you're totally unsympathetic to him, because he got other people killed. Like, I don't care about what he feels at this point. He is actually kind of an awful person.
Yeah.
So so I don't really sympathise with him, and I don't really sympathise with the dad, because the dad is being kind of like, oh no, you're a coward. You need to be a man. You know, it's this very old timey kind of. You need to have balls, son, and you can't be a coward. You have to do your duty. All that malarkey. So it left me in this weird place where it was kind of interesting to watch, and it was kind of fascinating, but I wasn't really sympathising with either side of the debate, with either side of the conflict. Which maybe that works with like a war story, because it is often shades of grey and it is kind of two sides. But
Yeah, no, I think interesting is the right word for it. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't feel very Tales from the Crypty. It's
that's the thing. See when they go out on their mission at night and it's night time and they're sneaking around, I was like, oh, they're going to encounter a monster or something. There'll be something out there that's otherworldly.
What I kept thinking is the soldiers that died, they were gonna be like ghosts that, like, maybe not actual ghosts, but maybe they would haunt his dreams or something, and you'd see them with like a bunch of gore effects and stuff on him, and like he'd start to feel guilty, like something like that. I kept expecting.
Yeah, maybe after his son died, we'd get a bit of story with him being haunted by the fact that.
Oh yeah, too.
He drove this to him or something like that. Yeah. I could see it going there, and that would have felt a bit more Tales from the Crypt. Honestly, as it is, this just feels like a story.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really feel like a Tales from the Crypt. It doesn't have the... Because even though some Tales from the Crypt episodes don't have, things like that in it, there's typically this sort of dark sense of humour to them. Whereas this doesn't have that. It's actually played completely straight. There's nothing about it that feels like a Tales from the Crypt episode. It's really weird.
Well, actually, what I thought was kind of weird is it is played very straight, but there were like one or two instances that I was like, well, that doesn't really seem like it fits with this more serious tone. Like when I think like Lance Henriksen, like his body like flies and falls on the like lieutenant. I was like, oh, this seems a little weird. Or at the end, I don't know if this actually happens when people get shot or whatever, but the ending scene when he gets shot and you just see his shoes are still there, I was like, oh, that seems like a little weird. But
yeah, that was a little bit cheesy, I guess. I'll agree with the shoe shot. The shoe shot was a little bit cheesy, but then it ends in this really poignant moment where the camera goes down to his flask, and it's engraved from his father about courage, and it's this little poignant moment, and it's like, I'm seeing what you were doing here, episode, but this feels really... it feels a little bit too long. It's a little bit padded. Because, like I say, I was expecting stuff to happen after he died, but then they drew out the build to him dying so much that I was, it's the end of the episode. Oh, I guess it's time to go. But, like, I was expecting more story after that to make it more... put more of a twist on it. I feel like there wasn't a twist. Because as good as the moment is, like, there's that moment where he looks over at his dad right before he's shot, and he's been all brave because he thinks it's all blanks and he's not actually going to die. And he looks over at his dad and he sees the look in his face and he's like, oh shit. Like, that moment's actually really good. Like, there's some genuine good bits of acting here. I don't know why Dan Aykroyd's here though. Dan Aykroyd's basically in this supporting role where he just comes and tells Kirk Douglas things.
Yeah. And
it's kind of a nothing role. I don't know why they got Dan Aykroyd. They could have got anyone for this role.
Yeah, it's strange, and I guess that the bullets are real. I don't know. People might argue like, oh, well, that's kind of the twist, or or whatever. But like you said, I don't think it really is. Um, like you see it coming. It's not like a huge surprise or something that you're like, oh wait, I didn't see that coming. You know?
It's not a fun twist. And here's the thing: like
Yeah.
Twin Peaks, Tales from the Crypt is so often. It's so often about people, bad people getting their comeuppance, and while he did do something bad, it's a very realistic bad. Like it's a very
True. Yeah.
down and dirty. Like this is a kind of a real. This feels very real what he's just done, and he is like shades of grey. He's not just like an outright villain. He was a coward and he ran away. But you don't necessarily look at him like he's not a mustache twirling, oh I do evil things to people kind of villain. So you don't really want him to get his comeuppance in the same way that you do. Pick any other character that we've had in the last like 3 seasons.
A crooked funeral director or a sleazy reporter or something.
So, someone who's like killing people so that he can sell off their organs. Like that is so cartoony bad. Whereas this is actually this probably happened.
Yeah,
in several instances.
Yeah, that's why I really, really don't like horror stories that like. Have some type of war setting, because it is just like, oh, this is real stuff that happened and that is horrible, and I don't know, it feels weird to like obviously this one didn't have any supernatural stuff, but to insert like a werewolf or something in it.
This one doesn't have that problem at all because this one is just a straight war story. I don't think there's anything about this episode that's disrespectful, other than maybe that shot of the shoes, which maybe makes it feel a bit more cartoony than it should. But the rest of it's just like a pretty straight war, and it's a fine little war story. There's actually nothing wrong with it. It's a pretty decent little tale. I mean, you can kind of see where it's going. Maybe it's a bit predictable, but I mean that's basically all I would. That and maybe it's a bit too long. That'd be my two complaints.
Now, one thing I thought that was interesting was I looked at the Wikipedia entry for this episode, which I had never done before, but it's actually pretty interesting. I might start doing that because they have like the stories, like the comic issues that the stories are based on and stuff. But they had a little tidbit where they mentioned that this was like Robert Zemeckis, him kind of doing tribute to Stanley Kubrick movie. Was it like Paths of Glory or something like that?
It's funny you bring that up because it was reminding me of that a little bit, mainly because Kirk Douglas is in Paths of Glory.
Yeah.
I did notice that Robert Zemeckis had directed it, which is fine. Again, I would argue that this shouldn't be a Tales from the Crypt episode, but
I think maybe that's kind of why. I think it kind of explains everything, like why it came to be. I think it was because probably like, Zemeckis maybe he's a big fan of Kubrick in that movie, and he wanted to pay tribute to it somehow, and like this was maybe him going like, oh, I want to do this big war story, and we'll get Kirk Douglas, and we'll have a big budget for it, and we'll really pad it out, and I don't know, maybe that was why he did it or something.
It's a great movie, though. I highly recommend Paths of Glory. It's a very, very good film. But no, so this is a really weird finale to a Tales from the Crypt season.
Yeah.
Really out there in terms of it just not being a Tales from the Crypt episode. It's just this kind of standard war story. But it's not bad by any means. Honestly, that had been my biggest complaint, is that it just feels like it doesn't fit with the rest of the show. It feels like this separate thing. But not bad. So it's kind of a weird review. But there you go. That is the season finale of season 3 of Tales from the Crypt. We'll be back next week with the first episode of season 4. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Helps us out a lot. Guys on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. Head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv if you want to support the channel and everything we do here. You can see some of the bonuses over there, including getting these Tales from the Crypt reviews 1 week early. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. We will see you next time.